All right, welcome back to the channel, y'all. Hooligan X Motorsports. I'm your host, founder June, and today's episode is Man Museum Episode 3, which I'll be displaying how Joe and I framed off the mezzanine for the second story and the kind of bar hangout area. So this first picture that you're looking at is roughly it's August 9th of 2022. That's when the shop was finished and our first move-in date. Okay. And the main area we're going to be focusing on is this area right here. This is where the mezzanine is. It's 15 by 40. And when you see me in the other intro walk in through the man door, that's this area right here. That's the door that I walk in, okay? So initially, when the initial construction of the building, there was this 3/16 4x4 post that was put in from the get-go because I let those guys know, hey, I do want to put a wall up here. I just didn't know how yet. And then, of course, on the opposite side, you have this 4x8, I believe it's a 4x8 I-beam. And the distance between those two is roughly 15 feet. Okay, so that is where the mezzanine was put in. Keep in mind, this is what it looks like the day we moved in. So roughly on, what would that be? February 24th, 2023, I received some back pay for my, union contract at my job. And I don't know if any of y'all like me, when money appears, if I don't spend it purposefully, it will just seep away. I'm not claiming any type of financial prowess on this channel. If I got a large chunk of money, I'm going to I want to see where my money went. So to keep from this money just being siphoned off on eating and all this other crap, I was like, told my wife, hey, look, babe, I need to go ahead and order the materials so we can let's just go ahead and get started on the mezzanine. So ordered the materials. They came from MBR Express. And like I said, February 24 of 2023, they were delivered, which consist of 5 I-beams, okay? I think it was about 16, I can't remember if they're 11 or 12 gauge purlin, but it was roughly about 16 of those. And these 4 3/16 4x4 posts. Everything was 20 feet, okay? So the first thing that we did was Joe, in all his genius, and I call him Obi Metal Kenobi because, man, he can work metal. I mean, he's one of the best I've ever seen, He's really good at working metal. So he came up with this contraption that we can use my engine crane, and you would slide this thing inside the tube of the engine crane, remove the hook, and he put it at an angle so that by the time we lifted the beams, this is how we strapped the beams onto this contraption that he made. You see, he added these little ears so that, the I-beam wouldn't flip over. We strapped them down. And by the time we lifted them, it would be level. So that was an ingenious idea. And all we had to do was just like some fine tweaks. And I later want to show you why we had to notch out this section of the purlin, because that's exactly where we installed the 3x6, the 3/16 4x4 posts. So we had to notch out those on the purlins, but then he came back and, corrected it and reinforced the purlins again, which was, good idea on his part. This is what the corner joint looked like. So you got the I-beam to the right, and then to the left, we welded in a purlin inside the existing I-beams, because we do have another I-beam that, was initially put in the building at the 15-foot mark. And just another shot of it. Of course, checked it with a level. It was spot on. I mean, just awesome work from the get-go. So once we got those corners leveled, we moved on toward the showcase area, the inside. You had to put 2 I-beams there. And keep in mind, you got the existing I-beams that was in the building. Then we tie into that 3/16 post that was in the center. And then once we got them tied in, then we had to cut notches in these purlins, so that, because we use those purlins to affix the wall too. So once again, we put in the 3/16 4x4 posts in all 4 areas to support the I-beams, so that the I-beams would have no flex in them. And then Joe came up with this ingenious clamping idea, and we started putting in the first purling. So what we did was we put in that center purling and fanned outward from there. So that's what it looked like once it was tacked in place. And so you see it's tying into that I-beam that's on the wall, and then that center 3/16 post that was right in the middle. And you can also see what I-beams are tied into it. And once we got that first one in, we just went 24 on center, 24 inches on center all the way out in both directions. That's what it looked like from above. That's what it looked like from below. And once we finished, it was Joe's idea to go ahead and put these gussets in, kind of like some twist braces is what we were calling them, which will keep the purlins, because they're 15 foot long, from, any chance of twisting, which that was completely Joe's idea. So those worked out good. Then after that, I painted it. Now I do regret going with water base. I sprayed them, which, it came out okay, but they nick easy. So May 2nd, 2023, and we just completed painting the second half of, well, I don't want to say complete, we put a coat on the second half of the mezzanine. We're missing center beam, mostly because I got to move the tarps to protect the other contents of the shop, and this one, and we ran out of paint. So that side took a gallon, this side took a gallon. So one more gallon, I'll be able to knock out these two and do kind of like a touch-up coat. I got kind of heavy in some spots, still kind of playing around with this new spray gun that I have, and I got kind of heavy in some spots, and it's kind of dripping. So I'm gonna take like a really high grit sandpaper and just a real fine grit, smooth it back up, run a quick misty touch-up on it. But the mezzanine is coming out pretty good. Like I said, it's black. It's gonna dry. It looks kind of gray, might look gray in the light, but it's actually gonna dry a satin black color. I think that's gonna accent real good with the stained wood. So far we've done, what was it, an espresso? And then the other color was, Pavilia? Okay, wifey knows. And I'm even considering throwing an even lighter color randomly in there, but it's coming out good, y'all. Thank y'all for all the wishes and everybody that's, like and see my updates. I appreciate it. Hindsight, should have primered them, should have went oil base, but being that we're not going to have anybody, nobody's going to be up there touching that, so I'll just touch them up. They should be fine. Went down to Lowe's, picked up, I want to say at that time it was like 11 sheets. It's tongue and groove. This is for the decking, 3/4 inch. And what I did was I took my V-groove bit and I cut grooves in it every 8 inches, and then just kind of stained them randomly, because being that we did off 24 inches off center, I knew that the seams at the 8-foot mark would be hidden, and it could make these look like reclaimed wood. So that was the whole purpose in doing the stain and the grooves like that. Cause I could have just painted it black, but I try to be fancy any chance that I can. My main man Chris of HX Laser, Devil Dog, good friend, known him for a while, worked on many projects with him, love collaborating with him. He came over and helped me do the decking. Now he's got this little joke he likes to say that his thighs were hurting after this, but I'm like, come on man, Devil Dog up. But all joking aside, I couldn't have done it without him. I really appreciated him coming over to help me. We got all the decking put into place. Started getting exciting at this point, because I'm like, okay, now I had a better feel for how much headroom I would have, because being that I have 16-foot walls at the eave, I didn't know if, as I put in a ceiling right at about, I think it's just over 8 feet maybe. Might be a little less, but I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to work as far as headspace, but it looked great. So once we got to this point, I was able to walk around and see how it felt. Then, of course, my man Josh, and I hate that at this point, we hadn't took a picture with him. Josh, Killshot, used to be back in the car club with us. He came, helped us. We lifted a few items, because we wanted to, clear up some floor space on the, in the shop area. So we started hauling items up. We just had to lean them up against the mezzanine and push them up. So Josh, my wife, I think Lupe helped us one day too. And, at that point, we tucked the entertainment stand off in the corner, and I was like, wow, this is looking pretty cool. So, a lot of enjoyment at that point. Then a couple of days later, which would have been, look like June of 2023, Joe came in and worked on the balcony. So this is the frame for the balcony. We went 5 foot out, 20 foot across. Phone's ringing, but we're gonna kill it for right now because we're right in the middle of a video. And that show you we had to work on, get it level. Joe's amazing with that stuff. And this is what the balcony looked like once we got it framed. Okay, and then bam, that's pretty much the finished product. Now at that point, the next phase was we moved on to the divider wall, which I'm gonna make another video, about that. But I just wanted to show y'all this is how we did it. Now that I know what I know, when I extend the shop and I go, I'm gonna do another mezzanine on the opposite end, of which is gonna be, half of it's gonna be closed, half of it's kind of either gonna be open or maybe have like glass windows, of which is gonna be part office and part library. And wait till I tell y'all what the name of the library is gonna be. Because I am a reader. But hindsight 2020, I think I might go with pre-engineered so that we can just bolt them together. It'll be a lot faster, a lot more economical. But I didn't have any idea how this stuff goes together. So I have a lot better knowledge of how these red iron buildings are assembled. So moving forward, we'll probably go with the, pre-engineered where everything is just bolt on, but that's in the future. Got to extend the shop first. So that's that. Next video we'll be dropping. That will kind of show, hey, this is how we did the wall and then the sheathing. We'll just keep moving on, bring y'all up to speed of how we got to where we at so far. And then we'll just continue on and just take you along on this journey. I really appreciate y'all coming on this journey with me. 5 or 6 followers that I have. Like, share, subscribe, comment, help us build the channel. I really appreciate it.